What's up, people? Jay here with my ever-increasing production quality on the channel. I haven't perfected the process quite yet, but I'm working on it. I'm getting there, busting my ass behind the scenes, trying to shake things up on PWF Empire. And speaking of shaking things up, I do have to give you guys a fair warning. This is only the beginning. What was it that Dixie Carter used to say with TNA? Oh, things are going to be changing on every level, and that shit never materialized into anything of substance. Well, when I say, as far as PWF Empire is concerned, things are going to be changing on every level, you can actually believe me. I said I was going to stop throwing shade at TNA. I have to, this is like years of conditioning that I have to work. Well, no. I'm not throwing shit. That's more Dixie Carter shade and shit. As far as I'm concerned, that never goes out of style. But I digress. When it comes to PWF Empire, a lot of things are changing behind the scenes, and it will have an effect on you as a viewer. We're going to have some different concepts, different shows, and we're doing some experimenting behind the scenes, and everything is still in the planning stages currently, so we're not quite ready yet to press that launch button, but that is something to look forward to in the very near future. Speaking of things to look forward to, damn it, when I tell you SmackDown has done a great job with building up No Mercy, I mean it. And that's what I'm here to talk about primarily. In this video, going to be going down the card match by match. And the first match that I'm going to be discussing is the career versus title match. The Miz's Intercontinental Championship versus the disgruntled, uppity jobber that is Dolph Ziggler. His job is actually on the line in this match. I have been nothing less than fascinated by this Dolph Ziggler character over these last few months, ever since this brand split started. And like I described him, a disgruntled, uppity jobber, because this is a guy who refuses to accept that he's mediocre. He's in a certain position on the card and he thinks he should be here, but he's actually nowhere near there. And I applaud WWE for having the courage to tell this story, because initially, I was thinking that this was WWE attempting to tell the Cinderella story and forgetting the cinder part of it. You know, when she was actually working, scrubbing them damn floors, and they love telling those stories where, oh, all of a sudden you're supposed to forget that Dolph Ziggler fucking sucks and he's booked terribly. Just remember the fact that he's a multiple-time world champion and he's going for the WWE Championship now. It seemed as if they were forcing him into a redemption storyline and starting that point off at the WWE World Championship. But soon after that, I realized that something was different about this one. And I kind of relate to this to, if you look at the term anti-hero, an anti-hero is a person who is a babyface, but they don't fit the traditional mold of what a hero is supposed to be. And I look at this storyline that they're telling with Dolph Ziggler, and this is more of an anti-redemption storyline, because they're not pushing him through with all of these victories, and they're just going to push him into No Mercy with momentum at his back and he's going to sail to victory. No, they're telling us on a weekly basis in a variety of ways that this dude fucking sucks. He's mediocre, and The Miz, he let him languish in his mediocrity on SmackDown. He actually had a fucking parade for it, basically. He had that, what was it, the Dolphumentary. When I tell you I love that, like, I shouldn't even have to tell you that. You had him making fun of Dolph Ziggler, taking the piss out of Dolph Ziggler, and then the Midas touch Miz. That's the best of both worlds right there. It doesn't get any better than that. The Miz giving Dolph Ziggler a reality check, and just having the Spirit Squad there, that Dolphumentary, all of that was great. The narration in the Dolphumentary, like, I need to see that become a real thing. I'll pay fucking money for that. Release a DVD. You know how they do the DVDs where it's like a career retrospective, best of so-and-so. They need to do a DVD, worst of Dolph Ziggler, the success of a failure. Make that shit a reality and I'll buy it. I definitely will. But yeah, I was entertained by all of that stuff going on. Dolph Ziggler, I initially thought when I heard that this match was booked that, of course, Dolph Ziggler is going to win, because it seemed as if they booked themselves into a corner with The Miz talking about how, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, when your career ends, you go over to Monday Night Raw or go to NXT, or you take a few weeks off, and when you're done, you're done. When he said that, I was like, of course Dolph Ziggler is going to win. But as the week started to roll on, I started to explore different possibilities, and I was like, maybe he's not gonna win. There must be, like, I have too much faith in WWE excuse me, please excuse me. I have too much faith in the SmackDown creative team for them to do something like that and it to be like hokey. And they say, okay, well, we're doing this. And of course, Dolph Ziggler is going to win. Like, even if he does win, I'm not going to be too pissed off about it because there is an opening for him to lose. Like, that seems like a viable option. If you guys could understand, like, I don't think they just threw that stipulation out there to bullshit people. It could possibly happen. But, you know, with that, like I said, initially I thought that Dolph Ziggler, there's no chance that he's going to lose this match. But I saw him on Talking Smack, and there was something different about him. Like, he was his usual, like, douchebag self, but there was a different kind of douchebaggery involved. It's like he was trying to distance himself from his character, and he kept saying it over and over again. Oh, that was my character. Oh, that was the role that I was playing, and, you know, back when I was a bad guy. And he was breaking down those walls of kayfabe, as if he was disengaging from the world that is WWE and letting everyone know, hey, I don't really suck. You know, that's just the character that I was playing. So, I honestly don't know what's going to happen, but if I had to put my money down on something, I would probably go with The Miz winning. And that would take some guts to do that move, with The Miz winning and sticking to that stipulation of Dolph Ziggler, you know, retiring. So, shit, that's what I want to see happen. I want to see The Miz win and just see what he does going on from this point. But a great storyline. Honestly, my favorite going on in WWE right now. When The Miz steps up to the plate, everything that's being thrown his way, he knocks that out of the motherfucking park. That's truly must-see TV right there. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. This is not must-see TV at all. This shit could have been off TV and I would not even known the damn difference. And this just goes to show you how many fucks I give about this feud. Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack, he said, there's nothing more terrifying to him than grown men who whisper. And he said Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton are grown men who whisper. So he's like afraid of what could happen here. That was the most effective build for this entire fucking feud. And they've been on TV pretty frequently. Like, they have them in many segments throughout the entire night telling this overarching story. And it kind of sucks for me to not really care about this feud, because this is the type of thing that's right up my alley, the psychological warfare, and they're playing these mind games with each other. I find things like that to be fun. I just don't find it to be fun with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. And I think the reason is because of Bray Wyatt. He needed to have some kind of tune-up feud before he got into the feud with Randy Orton, because that character has absolutely no credibility to me whatsoever. And I understand the perspective of Randy Orton. This is a person who was wounded by Brock Lesnar, and Bray Wyatt is attempting to play off of that. He's saying, you were the prey. No, you were the predator, but now you are the prey. You're wounded, and he's going to come down like a vulture and just pick the bones. But the character of Bray Wyatt has no credibility. So anytime he does these little mind game antics and stuff like that, it has no effect on me because I'm not invested in his character. So I can't buy into anything that's happening. So I don't have really any feeling about this at all. But thank you to GM Daniel Bryan. You know, shit, maybe they could spend the whole match at No Mercy whispering to each other and you'll get something out of that, because I'm not getting much out of this. You know, what's going on. Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Okay, I said weeks ago that Alexa Bliss on Talking Smack laid out the entire structure of what this feud should be. WWE picked up off of half of that. They told the story of Becky Lynch, but I don't look at Alexa Bliss as a three-dimensional character. She seems pretty one-note to me on SmackDown. And sure, she's gotten pins over Becky, and that's all well and good. Like, I can't say too many negative things about this, because for what WWE wanted to do, which was tell the story of Becky Lynch and get people on her side, get people to relate to her and want to support her, you succeeded at that. Becky Lynch, That's my homegirl. I'm supporting her. Shit, I want her to win. However, you know, you did what you wanted to do well. I just wish you had aspired to do more. Let us get to know who Alexa Bliss is, because she just seems like a Harley Quinn clone to me with not much going for herself. She told us that story on Talking Smack, but you needed to bring that onto SmackDown and flesh it out a little bit more, and I didn't really get that. But I'm still looking forward to the match nonetheless, seeing how Alexa Bliss performs on a bigger stage and in the spotlight, because she did well when she moved up to the next level, when she kind of teased it down in NXT. She never quite made it there. This is, you know, kind of farther than she's gotten in NXT, but, you know, we'll see where this one goes with Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. Let's move on to and just for the record, I'm going for Becky Lynch in this one. Next up, we have Carmella versus Nikki Bella. I was shocked to hear that this was going to be the first singles match between these two. If, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but shit, I heard somebody else say it, so I'm just taking their word for it. But they've done a really good job with building up this feud. I can definitely sense the heat between the two. I wish Nikki Bella would get a little bit more aggressive, and maybe we'll finally see that when she has a chance to get her hands on Carmella at No Mercy. But they've done a really good job with the Carmella character and giving her like streamlined storytelling, because she was not going to succeed at all just going out there and being Carmella. I'm sorry, but that shit was not going to work. She goes out there with an objective, with a plan. Here's what I was about to say A, B, and C. Shit, there's no B and C. There's just A. Attack Nikki Bella. And when you have that, like, streamlined mindset of here is what you need to do, here is your objective, that works for her, because she was kind of struggling a little bit early on, and they got her on track right now. But we have to see if this materializes into anything beyond. Like, do you actually have a plan on what you want to do? Because she's targeted Nikki Bella from the perspective that, hey, I don't even really care that much about winning matches. I just want to neutralize you. At some point, all of that has to turn into your desire to win matches, because that's how you advance up the ladder. And if you ever hope to be women's champion one day, you got to win matches. And beating Nikki Bella, this could possibly be the start right here. Like, this has to be the time where she's like, damn it, I got to win this match. And I got to, you know, hunker down and, you know, go to work. I've executed this plot on her for the last month or two, and this is a payoff of it. So, you know, will she get a win here? I guess we'll see. I would like to go for I want to go for Carmella in this one, and then we can get like a no disqualification match, so Nikki is finally like, you know what? I'm tired of playing these motherfucking games. You want me to come down to your level? Baby, I'll meet you there. Let's do this. So Carmella for the win in this one, and then move on to the no DQ match. Heath, Slater, and Rhino versus the Usos for the tag team titles. The Usos got to win this one. Heath, Slater, and Rhino, that was a great story with Heath. You know, he's got kids, he's got his pool. Hopefully he has an ironclad contract, shit like Big Show used to have back in the day, that they don't just rip that shit away from you when you lose the titles. As long as you're good to go in the family, shit, even if you're not good to go, like, you can figure that out on your own. That's not my problem anymore. Like, I supported you on the ascent. You met your objective. Now it's time to give those titles away to the Usos, because they're hot right now. You absolutely cannot deny the Usos. There is no way, shape, form, or fashion that the Usos should not walk out of No Mercy as a tag team champions. They're just firing on all cylinders with their characters, the swag. Everything is working in tandem, and that aggression that they have in the ring is just unadulterated badassery, and I really like that. And like I said, they're hot right now. You can't deny them. I'm so ready for that feud between them and American Alpha to kick into high gear, and then to start feuding over those tag titles. So you got to give it to the Usos. You can't deny them. Curt Hawkins, he's going to debut on the show. This whole Chuck Norris shit that's going on with him, it's weird to me. It's weird. It's quirky. I'm not saying it's bad, but I have to see what his actual character is going to be like on screen before I give an accurate assessment of who he is. Because I can't derive that much from, you know, those segments and those vignettes. So we don't know who Curt Hawkins is going to be facing, but, you know, we do have a few more matches on the card. Jack Swagger versus Baron Corbin. So they had the match on SmackDown, and Baron Corbin, there was a little bit of controversy. Baron Corbin, it looked like he was frantically trying to reach for the ropes, and I guess the referee interpreted that as him tapping out to the ankle lock. Now, in that moment, it was kind of crazy, me sitting there, because I was sitting there and, you know, you had Jack Swagger locking the ankle lock on Baron Corbin, and then he starts to go towards the rope, and then he goes towards the ropes, and then Jack Swagger pulls him back, and I'm like, okay, what is happening here? Because usually, like, they're not going to have him, you know, go toward the ropes and then pull back and then go towards the ropes again, and then, you know, have him, you know, pull back again, or, you know, grab. Like, something was weird about how they booked that I know some fuckery was going on. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And in my mind, I was like, Baron Corbin does not seem like the type of guy that would tap out. And a few seconds later, the referee calls for the bell, and he says that he tapped out. Me being a big Baron Corbin fan, I actually really liked that ending, because in a certain way, like, it gave Baron Corbin a loss, but at the very same time, it protected him with that controversy. And Baron Corbin is the type of guy that he needs to be protected in a loss. He should not be the type of guy who is losing cleanly. With as big as he is and the gimmick that he has, I'm not saying that you need to do something like that every single time, but you do need to find some kind of way to protect him when he loses. And this was an innovative way of doing it, one that I actually liked. And I know it's going to send Baron Corbin into No Mercy with some fire and some intensity, and I can't wait to see him beat the shit out of Zack Ryder. Did I say Zack Ryder? Where the fuck did that come from? Jack Swagger, okay? And finally, we have the main event of No Mercy, the WWE World Championship match. AJ Styles defending versus Dean Ambrose and John Cena. On that go-home show for SmackDown, I really love the way that they utilized John Cena, basically having him serve as the lightning rod for AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose. AJ, he went off on Cena, and he had that one great line, "You chase history while I make history." And then he was on Talking Smack later on in the night, fleshing out that statement with a great promo, just talking about who he is as a champion and all of the travels that he's had around the world that prepared him for the moment that he's about to encounter with John Cena and Dean Ambrose. And then you had Dean Ambrose going off on Cena as well, and he had some good stuff, you know, to attack Cena with. He called Cena plastic, fake, phony, and he basically called him a caricature and said, have fun playing John Cena on TV. That was some great stuff. And also, elsewhere in the promo, it's interesting to me how Dean Ambrose tries to out Cena. And on one side of his character, he's like, I don't give a damn what John Cena has to say about me. But on the other side, he's like, I need to prove to you who I am, or I need to prove to you my worth. And just goes more along the lines of just some of the inconsistencies that come into play with Dean Ambrose. And it sucks. It really does, because I sit here and what we got on SmackDown, that was damn good. Like, I actually really like Dean Ambrose there, but it's just weird once again to me where we have this guy on one hand, he's Mr. Reliability, but on the other hand, he's the unpredictable lunatic fringe. Stable, unpredictable, reliable, lunatic. Pick one motherfucking side, please. And I wonder, like, with him trying to out Cena, because, you know, Cena is a guy where he's like, you know, I show up before everyone else, you know, and I'm the last one to leave, and I'm flying all over the world doing this. And, you know, Dean Ambrose was throwing jabs at him right back, saying, okay, well, you do all of this. Well, guess what? I've wrestled more matches in this company in the last 2 years than anybody. I don't get hurt. I don't get sick. I'm always right there whenever they need me, and yada, yada, yada. Like, he's going on and on about that, trying to out Cena. And I wonder, is this a case of Dean Ambrose just doing that because he's in opposition to John Cena? Or is this something that's going to go on to define his character from one step to the next? And yeah, I don't know. But he was good on SmackDown. He was. But I just want them to, like, find a character and just stick to it. Because I don't want to hate the guy. I don't. But just find a goddamn character and stick to it, please. And, you know, I was about to throw some shade, but I'm not going to. Because, you know what? Overall, I have really enjoyed this feud between all three guys. And, you know, primarily, there I was about to go throw some shade again. I see I'm expressing some restraint right now. I just can't fucking help it. I was going to say, you know, mostly because of John Cena. That's okay to say. John Cena, mostly because of John Cena and AJ Styles. But, you know, Dean Ambrose, he's there. He's along for the ride. So that's good. Honestly, there's so much going on here, and it could go in any direction. Why the fuck do I just keep walking into these traps? You know, John Cena winning, tying Ric Flair, that's definitely interesting. AJ Styles continuing on with his title reign, you know, that's a viable option there. And, you know, overall, I have to say for No Mercy, the great thing that WWE has done here, the SmackDown creative team, the great thing that the SmackDown creative team has done is they aren't booking themselves into a corner. And that's one of my big pet peeves in WWE. It chaps my ass. It really does. It pisses me off to the highest level of festivity when they book themselves into a corner and they only provide enough room for a very narrow pathway to success. And what I mean by that is, you know, you book the feuds a certain way, and me being the type of person that I am, and, you know, watching wrestling for the reason that I watch and thinking the way that I think, you know, me valuing storytelling, continuity and logic, you know, who'd have thunk it? The shit that I see on TV, I want it to actually make sense, you know, and be compelling. So when I see certain storylines be told in certain ways, I'm like, okay, here's how things have to go. This person has to win that match, and this match has to be executed in that way. And when it's not executed in that way, all hell breaks loose. Because otherwise, if it's not, you know, telling a continuing story based off of what you did with the build-up, it doesn't make sense. But the great thing that SmackDown has done here is that they've provided themselves with viable options. There are a lot of matches on this show where I have my favorites going into the match, but I'm not necessarily saying that they have to win. For example, with The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler one, it'd be great if The Miz won and we could see what happens when Dolph Ziggler retires, but what if Dolph Ziggler won? What's going to happen from that point on? So there are a lot of interesting things that could happen based off of which direction that they go in. And WWE, the SmackDown creative team, they provided themselves with enough room for many options to be viable. And booking with that kind of foresight to know, okay, here's what's going to happen at the show, and here's what we could do coming out of that show, spinning off into these different, you know, compelling directions. That's great shit, because I'm sitting back and I'm going, okay, this is cool. I'm going to be along for the ride, because otherwise it kind of zaps the fun out of it. If I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, this person has to win, and, you know, this feud doesn't make any fucking sense, or whatever that may be. So they've done a really good job here, and I can't wait to see this show. Yeah, a lot of good stuff could possibly happen here, and I'm hoping that it is a really good show, and we continue this trend of SmackDown being actually worth watching. So that's good for me, especially seeing as my options for WWE are very limited right now, and I'm going to need you guys to continue to knock it out of the park. That's it for me. Go ahead and leave your comments down below what you think about all of the things that I discussed in this video, and I will see you for the No Mercy review. Until then, peace.